welcome again to another adventure in Gonzo Vision, a one-man production on a journey capturing in the moment. Let us pick it up from our location in the last episode.
And welcome to the Treehouse. This is the one in Formby that I found. It's naturally designed by the wind and the growth of the trees to form a wonderful shaded area, perfect for the hammock.
And in this episode of Churches and Trees, we stick to the local area, riding Boudica, a 125 Hyosung. Stepping away from the main roads and preferring the more country lanes, a journey of intrigue and mystery begins. While exploring the farming areas and small towns, it was the churches that grabbed my attention, a relic from our distant past, yet still so engaged in our present day. Reaching above the humble towns and villages with architecture from a bygone era, it was the symbols and suggested meaning that took me down this rabbit hole. Join me on this journey of exploration and feel free to comment along the way. After sitting idle for years, now brought back from the dead, this Korean bike was almost waiting for me to return from her home country. My friend Pete is a master mechanic and able to restore almost any machine. I couldn't believe it when I saw the Hyosung 125, the same model of bike I first learned to ride on in South Korea. So soon after arriving in the UK, this Hyosung 125 was to be bike number 8 to saddle up on. Bike number 7 was also a Hyosung, a 250cc Mirage that lasted only 7 days while in South Korea, a story for another time. 6 months later, circumstance would present me with the same model bike for UK adventures.
Great stuff. Alright, Liam. I'll see you soon.
It wasn't long before I was heading to the Trough of Bowland, a valley and high pass in the Forest of Bowland area, some of the most outstanding natural beauty in Lancashire. I was following Eric on his BMW, another friend with lots of riding experience, and even though I've sped up the video, it's good enough to keep it a much slower pace for my smaller engine and guide me through such an ancient part of the country. It's a part of Lancashire that I will return to with the drone and focus more on its very intriguing history. But this section is actually about why this beloved motorcycle is called Boudica. If you know who she was, then comment in the messages below. I will hint that she's not actually from this part of the country, yet still reminds me of a time before the Romans when this area was called Brigantia, a former Celtic region, and where the most sacred place for this expanse was Pendle Hill, not too far away. It wasn't long before I was drawn to visit the location on my own, arriving through the old town of Downham so that I could experience the great reveal of the famous hill. When one enters this small town from the north, the hill of Pendle dominates the horizon, providing the perfect backdrop like a picture postcard. Just under the 2,000-foot height to designate it as a mountain, but with a history deserving of its own documentary, Pendle has been renowned to gather many cultures over thousands of years. And it was here in this ancient Celtic location that I decided to christen the new ride with the most famous of Celtic names, Boudica.
Where is this?
This is the start of the Trough of Bowland.
The start of the Trough of Bowland. White Well. It's the 17th century. This is a pub, tea room, church. That was Hale when we were. That was at Hale. Where are we now, Eric?
Still on the Trough of Bowland.
So I'm currently here in Formby Pinewoods, exploring, finding some unique little spots. I mean, it's not exactly the middle of nowhere. You know, these are paths where people come through with their dog. But I feel it's very important to come out and just be around these trees. You know, this the feeling of the biosphere just really is uplifting. And just coming out and finding these special places where energy is quite unique. The biosphere itself actually engages with my own energy. I can feel it. You'll feel it too. There's some quite unique spots, you know, that you just stand in and watch. There's some unique locations just all around us. We don't need to go abroad to look for anything. It's right here in our backyard. I mean, look at that. Could be in the middle of nowhere. It's just nice to be out here. I could quite easily put my hammock up and just chill for the day.
This hammock location for forest bathing is not far from a residential area of Formby, yet still so tucked away amongst the trees.
Hey, so it's a bit windy, but I found a new spot, and it's surrounded by trees. So the hammock is like putting a deck chair in the forest, as long as you've got 2 trees. This is a great place to come just after work for a morning coffee. Just put the hammock up and I've got this wonderful view. Lots of nature all around. Yeah, it's really nice, I tell you. Just to get away from everything, there's trees around me. You know, there's no Wi-Fi. You can feel just like fresh, like there's a fresh energy or something. There's loads of different colors of greens. Yeah, I tell you what, it's becoming a bit of a passion to just go off and find 2 trees. Just enjoy the scenery when you put the hammock up. Just got to have the time to do it though. That's the only thing, to have the time.
Not far from the hammock spot is a unique church surrounded by trees, much less green and full in the winter, yet still so picturesque on any day to visit. The grounds host many historic artifacts which make up for the lack of written accounts. A 12th century baptism font, a gravestone to King Henry IV's armour bearer, a boundary stone from the 18th century, and many other gems all present the clues and hints to what is quite a remarkable reminder of our past. And it's on these grounds that the exploration into the ancient era continues, recognizing the significance of these mementos which help to tell a story of a past mostly forgotten.
What a beautiful area this is. I'm here at St. Luke's Church. They say that there was a chapel here from the 12th century, and that's because just inside there you can see there is a baptism font that is dated from the 12th century. But what is very fascinating also is what's known as the Godstone.
Dated also from the 12th century, with only theories to its origin. Could it be a symbol of our Viking past, or is it some religious hieroglyphic of some kind suggesting a journey to divinity? Let me know in the comments what you think this symbol represents. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
This is the Formby family that used to own this land. I always love walking around these grounds. I love walking in the church grounds themselves. It's just got ancient design that we just don't do anymore.
The variety of stone blocks used here is quite unique.
Look at the way the window has got that curvature. All the churches seem to have that curvature.
Looking at the windows here, we can see the shape I'm referring to.
Which I've always felt it's a sort of symbol of recognizing the divine. Look at that symbol there. So that symbol I see in a lot of the churches.
I nearly forgot the oldest streetlight in Formby from 1897, originally powered by gas.
There's Celtic crosses here. And to think that there was a chapel here on these grounds in the 12th century just blows my mind, you know. And I always like to walk through this area here. And I used to come here during the summer when the trees are really full. And there you can see the side of the church I really wanted to show you. That symbol there. Now that is what I'm fascinated with.
Stained glass windows are always much more magnificent to view from within when the light shines through them. This rose window is certainly impressive, with a variety of local flowers from the area designed within its picture. And even though the artistic intention seems focused towards a message of floral beauty and healing, It's the specific geometric shape that has always gained my attention.
A while ago, I met someone who reminded me that if you look into the science of cymatics, which is sound frequency that manipulates malleable substances like water or grains of sand or even flour maybe, substance that is light or liquid, if you get a specific frequency and you're able to send it through this matter, it will form a shape depending on that frequency. And the shape is what we see in the sides of these churches.
So this is a very basic example of what I mean, as a specific sound frequency is affecting the shape of what looks like a kaleidoscope pattern. So could it be that this pattern is determined by a specific sound frequency?
Some of these shapes are quite different, but this one I've never seen.
Let's see if other churches have these designs. So heading back up north a few miles to the town of Southport, I can think of one particular church that has a very interesting design. This church history goes back to a chapel in 1827, but then relocated to this location in 1841. But it was this nave gable with its belfry tower and a wheel window, auspicious lancet windows. Part of its remodeling in 1875 and expressing a specific design pattern, which we will take a closer look at.
Okay, here we are, and this is St. Marie's Church. And does anyone know what that symbol actually represents? What is it all about?
Slightly different from the rose design window, this is the wheel style design.
What does it mean? Why is it on the side of the church? Is it just a pattern for an aesthetic reason, or is there some kind of hidden meaning?
While there are so many symbols designed into the architecture of this church, I'm going to just focus on this.
So does anyone know what that symbol is? What that is a symbol of the flower of life, an aspect of the flower of life. This is sacred geometry. What is sacred geometry? So the book I'm going to use to explain the flower of life is by Drumvalo Melchizedek. This is the flower of life. That is the symbol. You can see there's lots of circles within circles. All over the world this pattern exists. Basically all of creation is designed from this geometrical pattern. So there's this idea of creation. This is the philosophy behind it, the idea that creation is formed through circles. You get one circle, another circle.
As they multiply, they follow this mathematical pattern, which develops in sacred harmony to each new circle.
5 circles. We develop further until we have a full pattern, which is known as the seed of life. It gets a lot more complex.
It does seem this sacred geometrical flower of life is used as the design for the wheel window. What do you think? Leave comments or questions below.
It's very interesting to see it on the side of the church, because there's just very few places in local areas and neighborhoods and cities and suburbs and that hold the symbol of the flower of life. The symbol to represent what is the geometrical pattern that is the foundation of creation. So there you can see on the windows as well as also this expression of
sacred geometry, as one can clearly see the circle shapes within circles here, as this window pattern suggests something a bit deeper.
At it more in a third-dimensional perspective.
Could I be wrong in thinking this pattern is expressing this three-dimensional shape of the 7 circles, completing the Genesis pattern? But then the right-hand lancet window has only 5 circle shapes, with the larger windows beneath the smaller window. Intentionally different or not, but still derived from the middle flower of life pattern.
As you can see, the architecture is somewhat different to the buildings around it, and we'll see if I can get more from other churches in the area.
Jumping across town to St. George's Church on Lord Street, with its tall steeple that emulates the nearby monument, one could be forgiven for reading too deeply into the symbolic gestures of many landmarks on this street, but none hold quite as many hieroglyphs and nuances as this tall steeple of 13th century Gothic architecture style.
So this is St. George's Church, and this is on Lord Street, and I am fascinated with this church just because of the architecture, and you can see some of the designs are really quite unique. I love these archways. There's a rose here and it's like a block, and then there's these pillars and like leaves, so very, is it Roman or Greek? For now, looking at what is actually within the structure itself. Oh, once again, look at this. You can see 3 circles, a form of Trinity. The most significant thing is their very tall steeple.
Built in 1873 to 74, this church's steeple is a 3-stage tower with a tall brooch spire. But the triangle design over the door is known as a tympanum, a well-known feature of many religious buildings.
Triangles. There's 3 triangles there in the door arch with the doorway. Those are the top. So there's 3 of them. 1 triangle there, 2 facing down. So there's 6 petals of the flower of life, or 6 circles. Is it flowers? Is it energy? What is it? And then there's like these edgings along the top of the pyramid on many steeples. Okay, not this one, but it's on some steeples. You'll see that edging, that like curving waves. And I got a feeling that it's got something to do with energy, like an antenna aspect of things. So my research at the moment is in earth energies, and what I've noticed in the research, in the reading, especially from John Michel in a book.
The New View Over Atlantis, published in 1969, a thorough investigation into the alignments of prehistoric sites and natural landmarks.
It talks about how a lot of these churches are built on former pagan sites, but the suggestion as to why is because they're built on earth energy areas, whether they're energy lines or just something significant about the energy itself.
And so a page from the book shows a map of Cambridge with an alignment of 7 churches along this ley line.
And so this ley is the dark line, and the churches you can see are all circled. A lot of banks are built on this as well, apparently, but the research is mostly at the moment where a lot of churches are built on former pagan sites, have something to do with the energy.
Now, this is where I would like to highlight this specific reference from the Office of Tree Spirits, where I usually do my research. The New View Over Atlantis by Jean Michel presents so many explanations of the energy lines being utilized by the ancient native people of the land, and with so many pages in this book that could offer credibility and support for my perspective on these churches, there's only one page I wish to really highlight right here. Chapter 3, page 93, Earth Spirit. The practice of locating sacred centers in accordance with the flow of terrestrial magnetic current was not confined to prehistoric times, for it appears that every Christian church was similarly sited. The orientation of a church with its dimensions and architectural plan was determined by the lines of the current, of which the strongest spring is located directly beneath the tower. At this point, the celestial influence is attracted by the spire combined with the terrestrial forces to produce fusion. Phew, thought I was gonna pop. But basically that means that the towers or the church spires themselves were actually located over the strongest point of the energy line that the church is built on.
These steeples, they go high up into the sky. Are they built for reasons that, showing a authority of some kind, or just reaching to the skies, reaching to the heavens, reaching to God? That's what I've always thought the steeples were about. But I'm now open to the idea that maybe these steeples are actually got a lot to do with energy flow.
Are we looking at an ancient antenna of some kind, or just a symbol of religion? Leave your thoughts in the comment section, please.
This is where the path is leading from my questions.
So from this aerial view, one can see 2 other churches aligned from St. George's. Let's have a look for any similarities. First, we will investigate the magnificent Holy Trinity Church. Originally from a different part of Southport, this grandiose architectural design was first built in the location in 1836, but the huge clock tower and other extensions came after, and it wasn't until 1913 that the full body of this impressive building was complete.
Okay, so here we are at Holy Trinity Church of England. You can see just above the clock an arch that's got a motif that's very sacred geometry.
Seen in the close-up just under the arch, another pattern from the Flower of Life.
It's coming from circles. The design is obtained from circles within circles. So if I just freeze the frame just to make it easier and show you that this is a circle here and this is a circle here, so circles within circles. There's also another circle here.
and here. So the pattern itself is from the Flower of Life.
Just below the clock, there's looks like these petals sort of shaped in a line.
And so just below the clock you can see these petal-looking shapes, a common feature in sacred geometry. And so just freezing the screen again, just so we can highlight the circle we can see here, and another circle here. And it's this pattern in between that I want to focus on.
Those are actually the in-between of circles crossing. It's called the Viscapiscus. Can never pronounce that name properly.
The Vesica Pisces is a mathematical shape formed by the intersection of two discs with the same radius intersecting in such a way that the center of each disc lies on the perimeter of the other. And as you can see, the chalice well in Glastonbury expresses this pattern.
This shape, which looks like a circle, and another half of the circle, and they're crossing over this pattern between. That area in between the two circles where the next circle is created from. Basically the symbol of creation. The designs, the patterns that we're looking at are very sacred geometry.
The Holy Trinity architectural style is known as decorative Gothic, developed around the 13th and 14th century in England, elaborate decoration which seems influenced from the Flower of Life.
I'm really focused on the exterior designs. There's patterns within oval patterns within an oval, and they kind of fit within the arch. But it's definitely a reference to sacred geometry. As much as what I've tried to learn from sacred geometry, it's a very difficult subject. I'm not very maths orientated, but I do recognize patterns and symbols and signs. The curving of the circle is very feminine, and it fits within an arch, which is kind of a curvature as well. And I can see the circles within circles, similar to the other churches, above all of these windows, and within the symbol just above the clock face itself. Okay, coming into the church of Trinity Church itself. This doorway. This is the entrance. This is fantastic. So we've got two lions. Oh wait, we've got a lion here, an angel over there. Two lions on the door as well. We've got a crown here, 1913. At the top with a kind of pointing design. The motifs that are all around the arch itself, what is that? Is it fire?
And so those very intricate squiggles seen here, is that fire or energy? Is this the same intricate design motif that we're seeing here? And is it just a decorative aesthetic, or is it a direct reference to the electromagnetic energy I mentioned earlier?
Looks like a plant growing. You can see it's like leaves. It's a specific symbol. Very, very specific symbol. There's like plants or leaves here. There's a harp, definitely a man. There's more symbols up there. Very, very intricate to those who have the eyes to see, so to speak. All this design above the archway. Now, this is amazing. You don't see this on any doors anymore. There's no other buildings that have these kind of designs apart from the churches, cathedrals, and I find them just absolutely fascinating. Like it's as if it's meant to leave a clue of some kind. As you can see, the architecture is very flamboyant within the windows. What is that at the top there? What is that? Is that a goggle? It's like an eagle or a griffin?
In Christianity, the griffin is the symbol of the Jesus Christ.
There is.
But the symbol underneath the griffin, this is the most interesting symbol I've seen on the whole church. Now, to many people, that will look like the Star of David, but there's a much, much deeper meaning to this.
Right up there, where there's an eagle or a griffin, there is what's called the Merkabah symbol. That's two triangles together, two tetrahedrons together.
Referring back to the ancient secrets of the Flower of Life by Drumbelow Melchizedek, I hope to present the basic origin of the Merkabah pattern and how it evolves from the Flower of Life. Now, if you remember from the last video, I briefed over how the overlapping circles were conceived in sacred relation to form the seed of life, and the egg of life formation was also discussed. However, I want to come back to this complex pattern that is formed from the same overlapping circles within circles, where the circles develop beyond that inner circle where my finger is almost touching. Now, it has been known that the inner circle was presented as a restriction so that the rest of the circles beyond that boundary is not revealed. Because if we focus just on the six-pointed shape, a very significant pattern is formed known as the fruit of life. Now, this pattern of 13 circles is one of the holiest, most sacred forms in existence according to Drumbelow, because he says it forms or expresses the fabric of reality. Now, if you superimpose straight lines over the centers of each circle, we will obtain what is known as Metatron's cube. Why is this pattern so significant? Well, looked at from a third-dimensional perspective, one can obtain what is known as the Platonic solids, or the Platonic shapes, seen here. These are the fundamental building blocks of this reality. However, there does seem to be a lot of controversy over these straight lines, a much deeper subject for a later time. But for now, I just wanted to establish the tetrahedron shape seen at the core of this image, because it seems Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man was expressing this too. Notice the circle design around the edge of the picture. And if we consider all of this from a third-dimensional perspective, we look at the sun tetrahedron pointing up. This symbolizes the male, and the one pointing down represents the female. Combined, this suggests a sort of balance in the material sense, but really it's also the shape of what's known as a Merkabah light body, a field of light unique to every living being and can be used as a vehicle to another dimension. And so could this cross inside a Merkabah underneath the griffin suggest something much deeper about the resurrection, just like many of the architectural references to ancient teachings with much deeper meanings now unfamiliar to modern day awareness.
Oof, the sun is very bright today.
And so just recapping, remember we came from St. Marie's Church, then on to St. George's Church, and now we're at the Trinity Church. But from here, I want to actually move on to the next in the alignment from St. George's Church, Leyland Road Church. Also inspired by the early English Gothic architecture in the 12th and 13th century, this church took 2 years to build and complete in 1880.
Leyland Road Methodist Church. But Leyland Road, Leyland, you know, Leyland, I love it.
The word ley is the term given to earth energy alignments by Alfred Watkins in 1925, so Leyland just has me wonder.
And once again, the spiral is very tall, reaching up into the heavens, or is it an energy antenna?
And when looking at these structures, I always wonder, could it be that the entire design has come from the straight lines of Metatron's cube in the Flower of Life?
The stonework, the architecture, it's very old, it's ancient. This door again is very similar to the one on Lord Street. It's got a similar design to
St. George's Church on Lord Street with its Gothic architecture, and in this aerial view, Leyland Road Church can be seen in the distance, just past the Holy Trinity Church, with all three seeming to align in one direction. What do you think? Comments below are always welcomed.
Very beautiful. Pay attention to the archways, because the archways have got this kind of similar designed arc.
The pointed doorway arch goes back almost 5,000 years and references a portal or gateway into high dimensions.
And then look at the patterns above those windows.
Could this be artistic expressions of the Flower of Life, within shapes representing portals to higher dimensions?
Can you see the circles? The circles in the windows, the Flower of Life?
What do you think? Leave comments below.
Right at the top there, above the window arches, is another set of circles inside of a circle.
Was sacred geometry a key influence for all of these churches?
And then you can see it again, just over there.
It could have just been a trending fashion at the time.
But above those three windows, there are circles within circles.
Or could there be symbols of metaphysics hidden within the architecture of the buildings?
This is, for me, a reference to sacred geometry and the Flower of Life.
All interpretations here are certainly up for criticism and welcomed in the comments.
And with a lot of food for thought, what better way to contemplate than a ride on Boudica and get lost on a country road? Because for me, it helps to ride in nature, unpack all the information and process it within the confines of my helmet. And remembering back to part 2 of this episode, it was St. Luke's in Formby with its Cymatics style rose window pattern that seemed to resonate with the wheel window at St. Marie's in Southport, with its designed window patterns clearly highlighting the inner circles of the egg of life. Or could it be an expression of the fruit of life? Or maybe even symbolizing Metatron's cube, because it certainly looks like the design blueprint originated from this pattern. And when admiring these architectural wonders hiding in our towns and cities, the entire structure and all its details seem to hold references and shapes formed out of Metatron's cube, or the fruit of life. With this pattern showing up in all the churches like St. Luke's Church, and then again at St. Marie's Church, placed at the top of the window. And here you can see it more in a third-dimensional expression, showing mostly as a decorative window sigil within arches. Could it be from the fruit of life? And if so, what is the meaning of these patterns sculpted into a church building? With more investigation comes more intrigue.
I find it fascinating, the architecture and the way it all flows, the movement of this architecture, the bends, the curvedness of it. It flows into like a significant pattern that when studying sound and the different vibration hertz per second of sound, the sound frequencies form different patterns that are very similar to what you see here.
After spending time abroad looking for answers to my own journey, I never expected to start another in uncovering the mystery of these lands so close to home.
This sacred geometry is within the architecture of a lot of these buildings, and they hold, I believe, a kind of reference to a specific meaning that I feel is got a relation to the idea of creation, its geometrical form. It's the vibration of creation. It's a specific two-dimensional pattern of the vibration of creation, but it's a part of the whole. I'm looking at these symbols and I'm wondering, the person who put them there, did they mean to leave it there as a highlight for others to pick up on, or is it there to enhance energy, electromagnetic energy, or is it just a pattern that was just a design fashioned at the time, you know?
And what about the alignment of these churches? Well, it seems that 3 other churches sit in a proximate direction from the Southport locations. And as you can see, I've already got them mapped out. And in episode 3, this is where the journey will continue and follow the mystery of what's uncovered so far in the episodes of Churches and Trees. And if you enjoy these adventures and want to help, you can by liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing with friends. Join me on the next 2-wheel adventure into the heart of Brigantia in Ancient Albion, exploring the mystery and beauty of a fascinating past so forgotten in time. Could ancient folklore actually serve as genuine accounts of history? And this location be the actual center of Albion? In the next episode, we will find interesting input from others to help with this investigation.
So then I researched it and came across a lot of information to do with the lost lake of Sir Lancelot, which was Martin Mere, which was right near Tarleton.
Now this area here, this was all the lake, as far as you can see.
Join the adventure and follow the journey as we explore the mystery of our past so close to home and hiding in plain sight. Could this location be the lake in the King Arthur story? And how convenient to be just on my doorstep and along the same route to get to the next churches, where divine intervention seems to play a vital role in unveiling an alternative past awakened by many researching for themselves. Sometimes stumbling upon designs in the middle of nowhere that just astound the senses and fuel the imagination for what once could have been an unknown civilization that once utilized the earth energies. Jump on board with Boudica and venture along the country roads of Ancient Albion.